Hey everybody, Peter here. Thought I'd try something a little bit different today. Coming at you today from the campus of the beautiful St. John's College in Annapolis, Maryland, on a really beautiful day. Now, you know I always like to start off these videos with a question, so today's question is twofold. Part one, is mind over matter real? And part two, if it is, can we actually change circumstances, even physical ones in our lives, by using mind over matter techniques? Stay tuned. I'm going to show you in just a moment how to answer both of those questions to get the results that you really want to get. And I'll back it up with a real life story that happened to me just this morning. Stay tuned. So let's take the first part of that question first. Is mind over matter real? And to answer that question, I'm going to defer to an expert in the field of personal development. You may have heard me mention him before. His name is Neville Goddard. He's written a whole bunch of really great books on the subject. Highly recommend that you check some of those out. So, is mind over matter real? Well, Goddard tells us that, yeah, it is, and that it's not just crazy woohoo stuff. It's actually based on science. Now, smart guys like Albert Einstein and the like have been telling us for decades that energy attracts like energy. This is all just physics. So Goddard explains that more in layman's terms by telling us that everything that shows up in our lives started off as thought first. And wherever our thoughts and then subsequently our feelings and emotions are focused, ultimately, with a little bit of a lag time, shows up in our environment. Now, if you think about this, you'll be able to see examples of this in your life and the lives of other people that you have observed. Now let's take the second part of the question. Can we use mind over matter techniques to actually change circumstances, even physical ones in our lives? Well, Goddard and the personal development experts tell us yes. And Goddard says there's a 3-step process for doing this. So I encourage you to try this on your own and let me know your results. Be like a scientist in your own laboratory and do it as an experiment. So he tells us, number one, we want to get relaxed, maybe even laying down or sitting up is fine too, but to get into a relaxed state, as he says, akin to sleep. Step 2 is to then just breathe and relax and start to imagine the circumstance that we want. Let go of all of the things that our physical senses are telling us and what is presenting as our current physical reality, and then just start to imagine that reality that we really want, what we would like instead. And then finally, step 3, he tells us, hold that vision until you actually feel it as if it were real right now, kind of like when you were a kid pretending. Now, I know that sounds silly to a lot of people, but I'm gonna, once again, ask you to be like a scientist in your own laboratory and to give that a try and see what happens. Now, Goddard tells us if you can just hold that feeling as if it were real now, even for just a minute or two at a time, and do this consistently several times a day, this will actually start to solidify, if you will, into your current reality. There's a little bit of a lag time, and he says the lag time is just based on how long it takes us to believe the imagined circumstance, which we're creating in our imagination, as if it were actually real now. The faster we can do that, the faster we're going to see the results that we want to see. So, I promised you a story to back that up, and I'm going to tell it now. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this story actually happened today, which prompted me to make this video for you. But I got to go back about 4 years to set the stage. So 4 years ago, my father, who is elderly, had some, what the doctors called incurable health issues. He had fibromyalgia, and he had rheumatoid arthritis. And I remember him visiting me with my stepmother, and all he could do was lay on my couch. He was on medications that made him drowsy. He couldn't even stand up, couldn't walk upstairs by himself, couldn't dress himself. It was not really a good situation. So I said to him, Dad, while you're lying there, let's give this a try. Let me ask you a question, Dad. What would you be doing if you had the physical condition that you really wanted? He said, Peter, I'd be running up and down the stairs in your house, and I would be just like when I was a little boy in St. Lucia, running on the beach with my friends. And I said, all right, Dad, let's give this a try. While you're laying there, you don't have to do it for more than a minute or two at a time, but whenever you think of it, imagine those two scenarios. You're running up and down the stairs of my house, and you are like a little boy in St. Lucia, and you are just running on the beach with your friends. Now he did this and he applied it consistently. Now it didn't happen overnight, but within about 4.5 months, I came home one day and I heard my father calling from upstairs and he said, "Peter, watch this." So I stood in the front door of my house and watched my dad run down the stairs with no effort at all and then run back up them. And he was like a kid with a toy. He just did it over and over again and was really very gleeful and happy about it. Now, fast forward to this morning. So my father's been having trouble with his eyesight. His eyes have been blurry, can't see his computer. He's using glasses, a magnifying glass, and still really can't see and navigate very well at all. He's walking with caution. He's being really careful not to bump into things. So I got a phone call from him just this morning, and he said, "Peter, I have some news for you." I said, "Great, Dad, what's the news that you have for me?" And my dad said, "My vision came back." I was like, "What do you mean, Dad? Tell me more." And he said, "I was just walking down the road to the store and I noticed I was walking briskly and I noticed that I was swinging my arms and just walking with no trouble at all. I suddenly stretched out my hand and I looked at it and I could see it clearly. Then I looked around, I was seeing everything else clearly." And he said, "Now I'm seated at the computer here calling you through the computer. I don't have any glasses on. I can see clearly. I can navigate easily. My vision has come back at a really high level." Now, mind over matter or not, we're going to say, yeah, most definitely. What my father's been doing for about the last 6 to 8 months is envisioning this reality. What he's been working on is imagining looking at his computer. And I told him, "Dad, just imagine, what would it be like if you were navigating that computer and seeing clearly?" He said, "I'd easily see the cursor moving across the screen without having to search for it with a magnifying glass." I said, "All right, just imagine that. And most importantly, imagine how you would feel. Get into the emotion and how happy and thrilled and elated you would feel if that happened." Now, he's been working on this for probably about 6 months, and it looks like his belief basically got to the point where it was strong enough that his reality shifted. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be really skeptical about this, so I will say that we haven't taken him to the doctor yet to have everything checked out. I will tell you, in the first instance where he had the physical issues, the doctor couldn't figure out where the rheumatoid arthritis went, and she couldn't figure out where the fibromyalgia went. In terms of the rheumatoid arthritis, she said that's incurable, yet there's no signs of it in your body. So we're just going to have to chalk this up to a miracle. It'll be interesting to see what his eye doctor says when we take him in for his next eye exam. So I am by no means asking you to take my word for this. I'm asking you to be a scientist in your own laboratory and give this a try yourself. And be sure to let me know how things go for you and what results you get. That's it, everybody. Another impromptu video, but I just wanted to share that story and Neville Goddard's mind over matter technique with you. And I'm going to conclude here, but I look forward to seeing you in the next video.